We're so connected and what's going through our heads, we just don't realize it. And that's we got to communicate with each other and help each other.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Louisiana Farm Bureau Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Wiggers, and today I've got with me Mr. David Smith. He's the parish president here in Beauregard Parish. He's on our state board, and he's a farmer. I don't know if that is obvious enough by the scene here, but Mr. David, you farm a lot of odd crops for this part of the world. Tell me what you farm.
Yeah, we grow corn, soybeans, wheat, sometimes milo when we want to. If our corn acres are lowered, we'll add some milo in there. When corn acres are higher, we'll just stick with the corn.
It comes out of the milo acreage?
Yeah, that's correct. And we do a little bit of produce on the side too.
Is that for like just farm stand kind of?
Yeah, we'll try not to, we'll move it out by my mom's house at the front of the road if we have to, but try to do orders and just come pick it up by a certain time and we're done.
Nice. We, growing up on the farm, we had a big pea patch, and that was a lot of fun until it was time to pick peas and shell peas, and then that was not fun at all. So I have very vivid memories of the produce on the side where the whole family would come in and it would be just pea picking day, and it was miserable.
It is, and then you got to shell them. But fortunate for us, it's not on camera, but we have a mechanical pea picker over there.
Nice, that's pretty cool. We did not have one of those. I was the mechanical.
These are your
I
pea
was the
pickers.
pea picker, that's for sure. So, Mr. David, we're here just outside of DeRidder. Mm-hmm. You have all these grain crops, which is very abnormal for this part of the world. We talked about this on another podcast. If you want to learn more about Mr. David's experience getting into Farm Bureau, there's a podcast we did, honestly, not too long ago, relatively speaking, but we'll link that in the show notes. You can get all that there. That's not really what we're talking about today. But I do want to ask this, Mr. David. You've been around farming for a while.
Yeah.
Your whole life. Is that safe to say?
Safe to say.
How did you, I guess, tell me about your exposure to agriculture as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. Your dad was doing this, right?
Yeah. Well, Dad moved here from the Oberlin area in 1969, and I was 4 at the time. So starting his first crop was in 1970 in DeRidder. So from those years till my 70s growing up was following Dad, a little bit later learning how to drive a tractor, sitting on the bean truck to opening bags and dumping and mixing in your molly on the seed and your inoculant, how we used to do that. And just sitting with the planter a lot until he was ready to go. And in the 80s, whenever times were a little bit tougher, I graduated high school in 83.
I was about to say, those are probably pretty important years for you as far as you were very aware of what was going on in the 80s.
Yes. We discussed that earlier. My dad purchased one of his last big tracts of land in the 80s, and it was tough for him to pay it off. It was, and he thought that was going to kill him, basically. But, I went to McNeese in fall of 83. So the mid-80s, I was at college, I'd come back and help him in the summer and with the rice harvest and checking rice and planting the beans and everything else we were doing. At that time, a lot of people in Beauregard Parish, about 79, 80, there was actually more beans grown in Beauregard Parish than any other parish in the state.
Really?
Yes, and I learned that, and you start thinking about it because it was all beans. Other state or other parishes, they had cotton, corn, milo, soybeans, sugar cane. So they had a diversity. Here in Beauregard, it was rice, which we had some rice, or soybeans, nothing else, and that was it. So everybody farmed a little bit. Well, by 1985, that dwindled from, I think it was like 50 or 60,000 acres in the parish to 5,000.
Wow.
And we were doing about 1,600 of those.
Were those farms shutting down, going out of business?
No, they were. I noticed whenever they would sell out, you would see grain bins, empty grain bins across the parish, and you still see some of them there. When they started planting those fields and small pine trees, when you see those little seedlings, I would shake my head it's never going back. It's gonna always be in pine. No one is gonna be able to take the time to clear that, especially this day and age, and farm here. it's not going to happen. And that was very sad and heartbreaking for me to see, because I knew it was going to happen. And even at an early age, if I was a teenager or 20, it's like, it's done.
Refresh my memory, but what did you study at McNeese?
Agronomy. Yeah.
So you were pretty immersed in the world of, maybe not the ag econ stuff, but you probably did take some classes in that world.
Yep, took some of that business.
But the agronomy, like the plants, the real science behind the plants, that's a pretty impressive, like, I guess at that time, in the 80s, to be studying such an ag, studying ag like that with what's going on around you. Did you know then, now we talk about the 80s. I wasn't even alive, sorry to age you or anything like that, but all I've heard about my whole life is, the 80s. And did you see that in the 80s when you were in classes and like ag econ classes or?
Yeah, and I think we were fortunate because Dad had several hundred acres of rice, and that really what helped pull us through. Because we had times when, before our irrigation systems, I remember the first drought, and this is when it started, 1980. I remember being like 14 years old when this was happening, and watched the weather and the drought. And I remember talking about the high pressure sitting over Dallas, and it was a heat wave, and we went months with no rain. We cut 8 bushel soybeans, 8 bushel beans. Well, back then, that's horrible. But you probably didn't have $100 an acre in it.
They're poverty peas, right?
Yeah.
Is that where that came from, or did that predate the 80s?
I think that's where they could have came from there, but because they're in the 70s, it was everybody planted them. They weren't poverty then. Price was pretty decent, but that's when it started happening. Around 1980, people were bailing out in this area. So I had some inkling. I knew what was going on. I knew what was happening and all. Dad didn't really want to didn't talk too much finances, when I was a teenager and stuff like that. I guess he just didn't want us to know or worry. But I knew, kids know. You can see the worry on their faces.
Yeah, been there.
And you can see it. So, but he didn't want to talk about it. And very fortunate enough that put all 3 kids through college. And we never would have known how bad it was, besides just the economy around us with the farms. Everybody going out in the Midwest and stuff like that. I hate to say it, it's like you almost kind of wanted to keep us sheltered from that.
Yeah. Seeing it on his face, knowing what you saw in college. You were going into agronomy. You had a path that you wanted to take. When did it become clear that, even with what you saw in your dad's face through your teens, to go into agronomy at McNeese and to say, I want to be a farmer?
I knew since I was a kid I wanted to do that. That's like kids growing up on farms, they want to do that. You just want to follow following your parents' footsteps. You saw what he was doing. You can't really comprehend the stress. The hard work in the house. You see them come in late. When you're in elementary school and coming late and dirty and everything, and you see that, but you can't comprehend the stress, and still you start taking it on. And then that's when it starts sitting in, and it's like, this is real.
Yeah. I remember growing up working on the farm myself. I remember every time I had a question or I needed to know, what are we doing today? I said, Dad, what are we doing today? And it would be, we're going to go irrigate these fields, or we're going to go, I'm going to go do this with this implement, and I'm going to go spray that, or all those decisions were made. Yeah. And then whenever you're the one that's having to make those decisions, all of a sudden you're like, wait, who do I ask what I'm doing?
Oh yeah, it
has a different weight.
Yeah, and my dad's been gone since 19, and even before then, and maybe just the way we were raised, he taught us. I knew what to do, but I always like to go talk to him. Hey, here's what's going on. What do you think? Just get his opinion. He's done it so long, and just to keep him in what's going on. Let him know what's going on, and he would come out and drive around when he could, and I know, like towards the end, he's like, I just want to get on the tractor. It's always in you. You're always a farmer. Yeah.
So you had it in you from whenever you were a little kid riding under the shed. I heard Nick Jarrah say, I farm 10,000 acres under the shed.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's pretty good. But you were the same way, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
And so lifelong dream to be a farmer.
Yeah, and I didn't even plan on it because I was very young in high school. I graduated high school when I was 17. Even finished a semester at McNeese, I was still 17. So I was young, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna graduate high school, going back to the farm. I was about halfway through my junior years, like, no, I think I'm gonna do this college thing.
So you were so bought into the idea of the dream of farming, you didn't even think you needed to go to college for it.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't, in reality, need college. It probably helps.
Now, what college did for me, and I learned a lot. I mean, you know, your books, your fertility and how it works in the soil, and I learned a lot. But it made me want to find out more. Why is this happening? Mm-hmm. You know, I remember when we had rice, and when I was real young, it was like, it was a spot on the leaf. Why is that spot on the leaf? And someone said, well, it's just a spot just there. No, there's a reason there's a spot on the leaf.
Yeah.
Because the leaves are supposed to be all green and beautiful and bright. So I want to find out why that spot's there. What's causing it, and let's correct it. And it's a never-ending, always learning process. I'm 60, and I will be learning until the day I stop farming or pass, whatever. And that's what makes it fun.
You like that learning aspect?
I do.
There's some science. I remember the scientific method, like just always trying to find the answer to something.
I will never pretend or think I know it all. Mm-hmm. Now, I got out of college, I'd probably say, yeah, I know it all. I think everybody's
probably
like,
before college.
You realize you didn't know it all after a few years. Like, you realize I don't know squat.
It probably still feels that way sometimes.
Yeah, but I will listen to even farmers who are 20 years younger than me. How are you doing things? Mm-hmm. Just to get another perspective of it. How are they doing it?
That's you talked about that in the other episode of other podcasts where we talked about the value of Farm Bureau and giving you that network, that coffee shop kind of vibe, I guess, where you can go reach out to people and learn from other folks, because you don't get that here.
You drove here. There's not too many farms.
Yeah.
You know.
So I think it's a really cool aspect. I'm glad you're still learning.
I love talking to different farmers, and some of them probably think I bother them too much at times, but that's my coffee shop talk.
The coffee shop is a valuable, a perfect segue here, because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. You're part of this committee with Farm Bureau, pushing for more resources, more, transparency, in not just in the farming community around the idea of mental health. You've talked about it as a kid. You saw it on your dad's face, the stress, the weight, and you've seen it now as an adult. I also need to just say it. You are the average, I think of the average Louisiana farmer. Yeah. You're 60 years old, you have a 2,000 acre farm here, and you have a diverse farm with multiple crops. I feel like that's very, very, not to make this sound belittling, very, very ordinary. You don't have any kind of crazy, other than being kind of isolated down here doing the crops you do. You're very ordinary in the crop mix and who you are.
We're not a humongous 10,000 acre farm. You know, we're not 200 acres. We're, some people look at it as a large farm, but to me it's average farm. Yeah.
But you're also the demographic of the average farmer. I think there's obviously the exception of there are a lot more women coming into agriculture, and which is great. But when I picture it, probably because I was raised by someone that's very much a peer of yours, that's what I think of. And for you to be speaking about mental health and anxiety and stress and the load that you guys in this agricultural world carry, I think is huge.
It is. You talk about the average age of the farmer. In my 30s, the average age of the farmer was 58. Next 2 or 3 years, still 58. 40s, 58. Got to 50 years old, still 58. When I hit 58, average age is 58. And I'm now sick. I'm above average now. So it's not moving, and you do see a lot of younger people in there. But you see a lot of younger people who have the opportunities, like I did, walking away from it. I'm not gonna say who can blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's out there. The stress, and especially the last 2 or 3 years, it's real. You know, I had the conversation. Came on the state board last summer. The first meeting was talking to one of the officers, and she and I were talking about the farm economy, especially row crop. And I just remember saying, I said, and the mental stress of this is going to be real. It's going to be real. And she says we need to have a conversation on that, because that's where it started snowballing. She gave me Courtney's number.
Was that with Amelia?
That was with Amelia.
Yeah.
And talking to Courtney, got together. Somehow a committee was put together, and since I was put on it, which I never thought I would be on.
Shame
a
on you
committee
for speaking up.
that's what happens, you know. And I never thought I'd be years on a committee for this. Family members. I know family members and friends who deal with anxiety and depression.
Do you personally have any kind of diagnosis or anything like that?
No, I do not. But
you don't need one, also, to deal with it.
But it's there.
We talked about this the other day on the phone. Whenever I called you to do this, you told me, you said life is stressful. It's stressful for anyone, agriculture or not. I say anyway, it can be. There are factors that can make this life stressful. Kids, the price of groceries, the price of gas. For me right now, I've got a 3-year-old, and we're thinking about what school are we going to put him in? And it's like everything can add to your plate. You happen to just have a very expensive extra set of circumstances.
Stage of stress, I guess. Yeah. My kids are older, but my son is working with us. And you think about, did my dad think about this whenever I started? How's it going to be for him? Well, I do. He's behind the 8 ball more so than I was. Nothing's getting cheaper. Nothing. You keep it. Things are, I tell people things are different like it was in the 70s and 80s. This is not the same farming opportunities or career or even what we have. You have to change. You have to adapt and change, or you're not going to be around long. You go back. You got your kids. You have family issues. You got you might have a house, mortgage, kids through college, school. Prices of everything, fuel. Not just fuel for our equipment, which is skyrocketed, for your cars and stuff like that. The insurance, everything's going up. It's stressful, and then to have this accumulate on top of it, it's there and it's real. And I think this committee started off, and we didn't really know kind of what direction to go, because it was all new to us. It was all new to us. And when Courtney, she's done a great job of spearheading what she'd like to see. And we all talk and discuss and, come up with stuff. And we realize and learn, and for me, it's communication. Reach out, outreach to people. Me call you, you call me, check on it. Because what's going through my mind about agriculture, with life, with kids, handing down the farm, anything else is going through everybody else's mind. We just may not think it is, but it is. We're so connected, and what's going through our heads, we just don't realize it. And that's we got to communicate with each other and help each other. Like I said, and we may not be able to save the farm, but we have to see there's light and life after that. Much as I may not be able to see it, I may have that tunnel vision, like, what do I do? This is all I know. And I have to see there's something after this. As much as my mind and men are tunnel vision, get it done. We're fixers. Your wife, do this, do that. And that's what we're supposed. That's what we think we're doing. That's what we do, and that's what makes us who we are as a man. But we have to learn to open up and talk to our buddies, because they're all going through the same thing. I promise you, and in a different version of it, but it's all the same stuff. And that's where men's groups, if it's a Bible study or something like that, are great.
I mean, that peer-to-peer thing, I think, is huge. And I think that's one of the things that seems to be coming out of this committee, this Cultivating Connection committee or initiative. And I love that, because I think while Farmer John down the road may not want to show up at a counselor's office, he'll sit in that tractor right there planting soybeans, and he'll call you down the road and say, hey, how's it going? What's going on in your farm? And I think that is where a lot of conversations can happen. And even if it's just venting, unloading, so that it's not going home with you.
Yeah.
It's not coming to your wife. It's not coming out on the kids. I think is super valuable. And hopefully, Farmer John calls Farmer Jim, and Farmer Jim recognizes some things, and maybe is there to encourage Farmer John. That's the ideal, right?
Yep, it is, and it's the outreach and communication, like the cultivating connections. Get connected.
That's why I thought the coffee shop was a perfect segue, because this whole thing, you not having the coffee shop here in DeRidder to go visit with a bunch of other farmers, whenever I pulled up, you were on the phone. Who were you talking to? You'd like to say who it was.
No, a friend of mine. I don't mind saying, because several people know him here. Wayne Dulaney out of Mississippi. And he just called to see if we had the wheat started. And I like talking to Wayne. We get along well and talk and just and let things and talk about things and what's going on and with our farm and families. And so that is important to me. I mean, sometimes I can't answer a phone, but when I see someone call, it's like, if I got time, I'm going to answer it.
Right. I think that's also, I heard, just to fully out you a little bit, but I was listening, you were asking, how are you doing? How's the weather doing for you?
Yeah.
And those are factors, and it's not even like, you're not asking you didn't go to school to ask that question. You didn't need to go to school to ask that question. You're just being a friend. You're just, caring a little bit. I think that's huge.
Yeah, it is, and it's not about me, and it's about other people, because somebody else is going to check on me, and I mean, it can't be about yourself. Mm-hmm. When you give, you're giving back too. So it's check them. How are you doing? And that's exactly your prime example of eavesdropping, which is good. No, you heard. I mean, I wasn't hiding. We were 10 feet away. But it's like, how are you doing? How's everything going with you?
How does that work here on the farm? You have a son now. He's in his 20s?
He's 24, yeah.
Which is about how old you were when you got involved in Farm Bureau.
Yeah.
He's 24, you're 60. Is there any communication there with your son? Not to get too deep and personal here, but are you letting him in on some more of the stress that you maybe watched on your dad's face, but had to kind of fill in the gaps?
I'll let him know. And he might say, and he would die if we knew we were talking about him, but he might say, so what should I do? I said, you do what you need to do. We're going to do what we need to do. I'm just letting you know what's out there.
Yeah.
This with this crop, why. And I'll start getting kind of not with anybody in particular, like with myself, like with the crop, Like of all things, I planted beans early. First time I ever planted beans at the very end of March. I wanted to plant a little bit. Weather was great. I just replanted one field a week ago for slugs. Of all things, slugs took care of the crop. It was in a no-till situation. It wasn't really a lot of vegetation there. It was like, you got to be kidding me. And I've seen it in pockets in other bean fields. Not nearly that bad. And then on top of that, you got the deer. Deer, they're having a good time. There's gonna be some fat deer this fall.
I've seen it.
And I need some hunters to knock some out. But it's like stuff like that. And, we've had a good chance to go, and we were still early. It's like slugs, of all things. Who would think of a slug? You would think of worms, a young, early, something else, too much rain or
a freeze. It's pretty common at that time of year.
A slug. It's like unbelievable.
So your son is seeing that. You're having those discussions with your son. Would you say is it safe to say that he's more aware of what's going on in your head than maybe you were your dad's head at this time in your life?
He is, but I think even at a young age, until you live it, which is great about being youth, it's like you're all fired up, ready to go, and you know you're gonna. It's like I think you just gotta let him make a mistake. He's gonna have to make his mistakes. You know, you can't shelter them, and he has his ideas, and I will let hey Dad, let's try this way. Something I never would have done. So you know what, we're gonna try it like that. Mm-hmm. But there might be a point, it's like, okay, let's try this. I'm like, okay, let me tell you why we're not gonna do it that way. I said, so I'm not saying it's bad, but I've had experience with that, and it has never worked out with me.
Yeah.
So we need to learn. I said, if you want to try it, but he'll listen. He's good at listening.
Right.
And he'll and grabbing information and stuff. He's learned so much in just a year since college of being here, and I'm very proud of what he's done.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for the on the ground, boots on the ground, in the dirt education that you get on the farm. Let me ask you this, Mr. David. We talked about the economic world a minute ago of home life, but then you add on to it the farm life.
All right.
That's only one factor in what y'all are dealing with. The price of things, but you also have the marketing of your crop, which is still economic, but like the selling of your crops. Mm-hmm. You have weather, which you mentioned for the last 4 days. This is our third day that we've tried to get together. We finally did.
Yeah.
Weather is a big factor in your life as a farmer. It's out of your control, same as markets, same as a lot of input prices. You can kind of help yourself a little bit in some of those areas, kind of, but not with weather.
No.
And I heard you say to markets, you say you sold too many at a certain price,
yeah.
and there's a better price now, and it's just a whole gamble. And what are some of those other factors beyond, input costs that really weigh on the farmer?
Weather has something to do, besides inputs, the weather. Look, I have wheat that needs to be cut and harvested. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit higher moisture content, but we're going to get it out the field because they have several days of rain coming.
How much rain did you get last week?
Almost 5 inches. Almost 5 inches. And the wheat's turning down. It's about 19% moisture, 20% moisture. But we're going to cut it and I'm going to dry it. I can't wait for it to go down to lower moisture content to cut it. This rain coming in, if they say it's going to do like Wednesday till next Tuesday, rain a little bit, cloudy, that wheat's going to start sprouting. The quality is going to go down, deteriorate very fast.
You're saying this humid, cloudy is not good for wheat that's ready to be cut?
No, it did like it is. We're going to try to start a little bit early today, but I've not seen a lick of sun. It's going to be higher in moisture. I'm going to have to watch how I'm cutting it, but I'm going to have to cut some. I'm going to have to get some out. It may not be till 1 o'clock before we start, but I've got to get something out the field.
And that weighs on you.
It does. I've lost, and I've planted wheat every year since 1993.
Wow.
Last year I thought about maybe not. I'm thinking this year's like, I don't know, this coming fall, I can't plant it just because I want to plant it,
Do you like wheat?
I do. I love it. I love growing it because it's usually a pretty consistent crop for us.
It's pretty easy too, right? Am I right? I don't want to make it take away.
It is because you have a little bit more time in the winter and stuff like that, and you might have to not jump on it right away to put an input in. It just depends on the weather related.
Yeah.
But this is the third year in a row that we've had something like this. Last year I cut early. I was actually cutting higher moisture content because they called 3 or 4 days of rain.
You had to get it out.
I told someone on the phone call, said, I would rather get 5 or 6 inches of rain in one day and look like this for one day than get an inch of rain over 4 or 5 days and stay cloudy.
Right.
Because it's just going to wreak havoc on it.
That's one of the things that I used to always want to come back and farm with my dad. Growing up, I didn't really have this same desire that you did. Like whenever I was in high school, like, oh, I'm gonna go farm. But as I went through college, that appeal was still there. When I got to Farm Bureau, that appeal was there because I would see stories of like you and your son, where that son is farming with their dad. I'm like, God, I want that. But then I would see a weather event, see a crop lost, or And I would think back to all the times I watched my dad looking at the sky, doing that. And I feel like even more than market and inputs, the weather was one of those things that just weighed so heavily.
We revolve around the weather. You know, my uncle once said you can't really farm looking up at the sky. You just got to keep going. But it is. I mean, you could stomach some low prices if you get a good crop. You know, you have to have the crop, and weather may stop it. You know, and you could have. That's what I'm booking beans. I probably should book a little more, but I got to get some more planted, and kind of you worry. And some people don't. It's just I'm booking this X amount, and they're doing it. I've never been that way. I'm always okay. What if? And I can't do that to myself.
Right. What's crazy though is you guys are. I mean, talking about $11 or $12 beans, like that dollar makes a difference, or a $3 swing makes a huge difference, because you're dealing with hundreds of acres of beans, right?
You know, between us all, if we have 1,100 acres of beans this year, you know, X amount of bushels, that's a lot of bushels, and a dollar makes a big difference.
Right, and those inputs the same way.
Yeah.
The things you're putting into those crops, the fertilizer, the treatment, you know, herbicides, pesticides, whatever it may be, those pennies start to matter.
Yeah.
Not just dollars, but pennies.
It's turning in from pennies to dollars now. I mean, they had a report that 80% of the farmers had their fertilizer locked down. No, I don't know anybody had that much fertilizer locked down or anything. No, we didn't. I did, whenever this happened, I did book before it started skyrocketing my liquid for the corn, and you know, some of it eased up a little bit before, you know, we got a lower price. I'm like, no, let's just book it, because this is not going to be over anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you think, okay, what's the price of corn going to do now?
Yeah. I mean, and I think corn is probably bigger hit when you think about markets, because it's a lower price per bushel, but it's also a more expensive crop to put together than beans, right?
Oh, it's the most expensive crop we put out. Yeah, it's at least twice as much as beans.
Why is that? Is that more? Does it take more fertilizer?
Well, you have the nitrogen aspect of it. That, you know, right now on our corn we have $130 to $40 an acre in nitrogen, you know, per acre. Well, beans, it's zero. You know, because it makes its own nitrogen. So that's a huge difference right there.
Right.
But, you know, you're hoping to get a good corn crop, you know, which would exceed hopefully 200 bushels an acre, you know, that could cover all that. The seed, and you can go anywhere from, I've had seed when I did some conventional corn as low as $70 an acre to $150 an acre on corn. You know, bean seed is, you know, we're putting it in for like $55 to $60 an acre.
That's crazy to think the scale, the level of what y'all are dealing with, because you're talking about $150, $250 per acre for those two elements. That's not counting any fuel to run that planter through the field.
Yeah.
It's not counting the cost of maintenance and upkeep on the tractor.
Doesn't include any of that.
Doesn't include your time and labor.
You know, when I put, you know, a crop, a lot of times I say what a crop costs me, I always like, this is what I put under the ground. This, you know, I know what that is. You know, with all this could differentiate a little bit on price. You know, now it's costing more for fuel. You know, I bought a little bit of fuel before it started skyrocketing. I think my brother-in-law got one day. The next day when I hit mine, it was like 30 cents a gallon higher already. So I was like,
and you're not buying a 50-gallon tank?
No. There was a couple of at least 2,000 at the time, and we can make fuel go a long way around here. But no, like these two tanks here are empty.
Right.
You know.
I mean, 2,000 gallons at what we would put in our car. That becomes a big check. You're right.
Yeah. And then some of the fuel we had was from several months ago over the winter. So, you know, we used all that through the planting and stuff. So we've just now started getting to the fuel I bought a month ago.
Right.
You know, with the harvest and stuff like that. And so now we need to put some in this tank here. So, and then I
don't envy those decisions in that I mean, you're having to watch global stages. You're having to watch Twitter for whoever's going to tweet what, and Like that's terrifying. I can't imagine the load of having to make those decisions.
I've got to where I don't even watch the news anymore. It's just disheartening. I mean, you'll hear something here and there. Most of my stuff I watch lately is, I hate to say it, it's like YouTube farming stuff. Different people doing different things.
You're still learning.
Yeah.
Back to what we talked about earlier.
That's exactly. YouTube has become a big part of what, me listening and learning from different parts of the country.
Yeah.
What are they doing? I mean, hey, that's pretty neat. I mean, I may not do it that way, but hey, that's the way you're doing it.
To your friends, to your neighbors, all the way to Mississippi, to the north, like Delta up there in North Louisiana.
Into Texas.
What would you say you hope they take away from this conversation, from just the reality that we live in?
It's okay to feel the way you're feeling. That's who you are, and that's what you're going through, and that other people are going through it with you. And do not be afraid to open up. And if you feel like it's to the point that you need to go get help, don't let that scare you either. Go talk to somebody.
Right.
You may not need medication. You just may need to talk to somebody. Someone that has no skin in the game. And if it's medication, then so be it. I mean, we all have I take blood pressure medicine. We all take medication at some point in our life. Don't let that scare you. It's just your brain is part of your body. It's an organ in your body. And sometimes the nerves need to connect a little bit, and sometimes medications help. I'm glad I have blood pressure medicine.
On the conversations, we talked about the tractor seat phone calls. What would you advise? Like, what would your advice be to those neighbors, to those friends that maybe are making those calls regularly and say, like, hey, I want to be a little bit more aware and intentional maybe with those phone calls? Do you have any advice that you've taken on and that you've done that you found has been very helpful?
Just do it. Make the phone call, because how many times in your mind, well, I need to call this person. I need to check. We do it all the time. Check on them. Pick up the phone and do it. Hey, and they're always happy to hear from you more often than not. And if they are in a difficult place, they're probably really happy to hear from you. And just ask how you doing. No, your life may be great. Just they may not want to hear that. Listen to them. Listen to what they have to say, and then you'll learn a lot that way. Like I said, it's not about me. Someone will call and check. I'm not worried about it. It's like I said, we're all going through stress right now. I mean, look, the state of Louisiana, a lot of replant corn. Everybody's thinking we got to hit a good year. Well, now we got to replant corn from a freeze. First time I planted corn in February. First time I've ever done that. I ended up having to replant some. But you try to make the best decision, and it's like, bam, I got hit. So that works on you. It really, little things like that. The slugs, they all add up. And if you're thinking hard about it, you'll let that little stuff bother you, and you have to push through that. Like I said, it's very important to connect with people. I've learned that the hard way, because when I was younger, I can do it all. Can't do it all. Don't want to do it all. I love doing my stuff. I love doing what I get into, but I need help. We all need help. I can't run this farm by myself.
And the farm can't run if you're not here to run it.
Exactly. You need to be here. If your mentally and your mind is not 100% where it should be, your farm's not going to be able to run 100% like it should. And that's when you become that snowball effect downhill. I'm not here, the farm's not there, and it just keeps going. You have to. The stigmatism of mental health needs to go away, and I'm hoping this will help, and I'm hoping it is. I think people are opening up to talk. Like I said, maybe not go see a doctor, but talk, and just cultivate a connection. It's as simple as we can do, and that'll go so much of a long way.
Well, David, I really appreciate you sharing this. I know this kind of stuff is not natural. It's becoming more so, hopefully, as we talk about it and as we have those phone calls. But it's not natural. And in your generation, I mean this with all the love, it's very much not natural.
It is. I know. We were just suck it up and bear it.
Rub some dirt on it.
That's it. And it's not that way. I mean, and I envy women because they will talk to each other about their stuff. And they don't want you to fix it. I mean, I've learned that, And here's what you should do. No,
not the answer.
They just want you to listen. And then that's what we're here for. That's what we need to learn, just to listen. And like I said, I envy them because they will talk and get it out. You'll get a group of men here and it's like, well, how's the weather? How's this? And not really talk about what they're going through and how they feel.
Not really connect.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's what we're trying to do. There's no shame in it.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you doing this. I know you've got a lot on your plate right now, so I'm glad. And hopefully we can get in the field and I can shoot some video with you cutting some wheat later.
Yeah,
but if not, here it is. This is a trip worth it. This connection, this discussion is worth a trip to DeRidder. I'll tell you that.
I've always enjoyed it. Like I said, I hope it's somebody gets something out of it, and I think it will. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you. Well, we have a lot of resources on our website that I will link in the show notes. I will link our past podcast from Mr. David here, where we did in the studio. It's a very different feeling than here out in the field, which I kind of prefer the one here in the field. But I'll link that as well. You can learn more about Mr. David and his journey through Farm Bureau and into Farm Bureau, and as president now, so president of Beauregard Parish, and on the state board. So if that's something that's interesting to you and you want to learn more about that, how you can benefit from that, we'll have that there as well. But for anyone out there looking for resources about cultivating connections, we have that on our website that I will link in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again right here on the Louisiana Farm Bureau Podcast next time.